Most boat batteries do not fail because they were abused. They fail because of how they were built, how they were charged, and what nobody told you when you bought the boat. A battery sitting in a compartment right now with a clean terminal and a full charge can be 8 months away from leaving you stranded mid-lake with a dead bilge pump, no electronics, and an engine that will not crank. Nobody disclosed that at the point of sale. Nobody put it on the spec sheet. Here is the reality of the marine battery environment. It is one of the most demanding conditions any electrochemical storage system can face. Constant vibration, extreme temperature swings, partial charge cycles that the chemistry was never designed to handle repeatedly, and an entire industry that sells you a battery rated for a job it quietly cannot do under real-world conditions. The difference between a battery that lasts 8 years and one that fails before the second season is not luck, not maintenance alone, and not price. It is a set of decisions made before that battery ever left the factory floor, combined with installation and charging practices that most boaters were never taught and never thought to question. Before you look at which batteries survive and which ones do not, you need to understand exactly what is destroying them. Because without understanding the failure, you cannot recognize the fix. Sulfation is the first and most widespread killer. Every lead-acid battery, including AGM and gel variants, produces lead sulfate crystals on the battery plates during discharge. Under normal operation, a full recharge dissolves those crystals back into the electrolyte. The problem is that marine batteries almost never receive a true full charge. A boat that gets used for 4 hours, returned to the dock, and plugged into a standard onboard charger will typically reach 90 to 95% state of charge before the charger steps down to float mode. That remaining 5 to 10% represents sulfate crystals that did not dissolve. They harden. Over repeated cycles, they accumulate into crystalline deposits that physically block plate surface area. A battery running at 60% of its original plate capacity is not a dying battery by any outward indicator. It reads 12.6 volts sitting at rest. It cranks the engine once. It runs the fish finder. And then, on a morning with a cold engine and a long run back, it does not have enough reserve to finish the job. Vibration damage is the second mechanism, and the one most specific to the marine environment. Automotive batteries are tested and rated under controlled vibration standards that reflect road conditions. Marine vibration is categorically different. A fiberglass hull running across 2-foot chop transmits shock loads vertically through the battery compartment that automotive testing does not account for. The internal plate structure of a conventional flooded lead-acid battery uses flat plates suspended in electrolyte. Repeated vertical shock loads cause those plates to shed active material from their surfaces. That shed material accumulates at the bottom of the battery case. Once it bridges across the bottom of the plate stack, the battery internally shorts and fails. This process is invisible from the outside. The battery looks identical the morning it fails as it did the day it was installed. Heat and charge voltage mismatch is the third failure mechanism, and the one the industry talks about least. Battery manufacturers publish charge voltage specifications that assume a stable ambient temperature. A battery compartment located aft of a fiberglass engine compartment in direct sun on a 90-degree day can reach internal temperatures that push charge voltage tolerances into a range that actively damages the battery chemistry. Standard onboard chargers do not compensate for temperature unless they include a dedicated temperature sensor wired to the battery. Most stock installations do not. The result is chronic overcharge during the hottest months of the boating season, exactly when the battery is being used most, accelerating plate corrosion from the inside at a rate that takes months off usable service life with every summer. Walk into any marine retailer and you will find batteries organized into 3 categories: cranking, deep cycle, and dual purpose. The labeling sounds logical. The reality is that the category system is built around a compromise that serves the manufacturer's inventory needs more than it serves your actual electrical load. A cranking battery is engineered with thin, porous plates that maximize surface area for instantaneous high amperage discharge. It starts engines efficiently. It is structurally destroyed by repeated deep discharge cycles because those thin plates cannot withstand the physical stress of being fully discharged and recharged repeatedly. A true deep cycle battery uses thick, dense plates designed for slow, sustained discharge down to 50% capacity and full recharge across hundreds of cycles. It starts engines poorly because the plate structure cannot deliver the instantaneous amperage a starter motor demands. The dual-purpose battery was created to solve this tension, and it solves neither problem completely. It uses plate geometry that is a mechanical compromise between the two designs, which means it handles neither deep cycling nor high cranking loads, as well as a battery specifically engineered for each task. Independent battery testing published by marine electrical engineers has documented that dual-purpose batteries subjected to real-world marine use patterns, such as partial charges, high ambient heat, and sustained accessory loads from live wells, trolling motors, and electronics, reach the end of usable service life measurably faster than a properly matched dedicated battery system doing the same work in separate banks. The single biggest battery mistake on production boats is a one-battery or dual-purpose setup running both engine starting and house loads off the same bank. Every hour the fish finder, live well pump, and navigation lights draw from that battery is an hour of deep cycling stress being applied to a battery that was also expected to crank a cold engine at 6 in the morning. Lithium iron phosphate chemistry has moved from offshore racing applications into mainstream marine use, and the reason is not marketing. It is measurable electrochemical performance that addresses every failure mechanism documented above. A lithium iron phosphate battery can be discharged to 20% state of charge without plate damage. A lead-acid battery, including AGM, begins accumulating sulfation damage below 50%. That difference doubles the usable capacity per rated amp hour. A 100 amp hour lithium battery delivers more usable energy under marine load conditions than a 100 amp hour AGM battery, because the AGM's bottom 50 amp hours are capacity that exists on paper, but accelerates failure if consistently accessed. Lithium chemistry maintains a flat voltage curve across discharge. An AGM battery at 70% state of charge reads approximately 12.2 volts. At 50%, it reads 11.9 volts. At 30%, it reads 11.5 volts. Electronics and trolling motors running off a depleting AGM are operating on declining voltage throughout the day, which affects motor efficiency and can trigger low voltage shutdowns on sensitive electronics before the battery is technically dead. A lithium bank at the same state of discharge reads within fractions of a volt of its fully charged state until the final 10% of capacity. Charge time is measurably shorter with lithium chemistry. An AGM battery accepts charge at a rate that slows significantly once it reaches 80%, meaning the last 20% of charge takes nearly as long as the first 80. Lithium chemistry accepts charge at a higher rate across the entire charge curve, which means a lithium bank can return to full charge during a 2-hour run back to the dock, where an AGM would still be at 85%. Shorter incomplete charge cycles equal more complete charge cycles. More complete cycles equal less sulfation equivalent damage. Less damage equals longer service life. If you've made it this far, do me a favor and hit subscribe. The documented cycle life difference is not small. A quality AGM battery is typically rated for 300 to 500 cycles at 50% depth of discharge. A lithium iron phosphate battery is typically rated for 2,000 to 5,000 cycles at the same depth. Under real-world marine use, that translates to a service life difference measured in years, not months. The battery is only one part of the system. The charging infrastructure it lives in determines whether any battery reaches its rated service life, regardless of chemistry or cost. A shore power charger that does not compensate for battery temperature is applying a fixed absorption voltage to a battery that changes its optimal charge acceptance threshold by approximately 3 millivolts per degree Celsius per cell. At the scale of a 6-cell, 12-volt battery bank, a 30 degrees Fahrenheit swing between a cool spring morning and a midsummer afternoon changes the correct absorption voltage by nearly half a volt. Half a volt of chronic overcharge across an entire boating season causes measurable plate corrosion damage. Most stock onboard chargers installed by production boat manufacturers are not temperature compensated. The spec sheet does not tell you this. The dealer does not mention it. Undersized wiring between the battery and the loads it serves creates voltage drop, which causes electronics to demand more current to maintain function. That higher current draw bleeds the battery faster and at higher discharge rates than the system was designed for. Marine electrical standards published by the American Boat and Yacht Council specify wire gauge requirements based on load current and circuit length. Production boats are not always wired to those standards in secondary circuits, and no inspection at the point of sale will identify undersized secondary wiring without a live load test and a voltage meter at the load rather than at the battery. An improperly installed battery isolation switch or a failed isolator diode on a dual battery system can allow cross-discharge between banks. A boat with a dedicated starting battery and a house bank connected through a failed isolator will drain both banks simultaneously while the owner believes the system is protecting the starting battery. The first indication is an engine that will not crank after a normal day of fishing. The owner replaces the house bank and the isolator continues to fail. The new house bank drains. The problem continues until someone traces the actual circuit. A replacement. AGM battery for a mid-size center console runs between $200 and $400 installed, plus the labor and the afternoon the boat is out of service. A boater who replaces that battery every 3 years across a 15-year ownership period spends more on battery replacement than a correctly specified lithium bank would have cost at installation. The lithium bank, installed correctly with a compatible charger and temperature compensation, has a documented service life that covers the same 15-year period with 1 replacement cycle rather than 5. The comparison becomes starker when the failure happens at the wrong moment. A battery that fails at the dock is an inconvenience. A battery that fails 12 miles offshore with a following sea building is a Coast Guard call, and a boat with no electronics, no bilge pump running, and a VHF radio that went dark when the voltage dropped below threshold. Most boat batteries are not built to last as long as the marketing implies under real-world conditions. The chemistry is compromised by the installation. The installation is compromised by the charger. The charger is compromised by the temperature environment nobody accounted for. The result is a system that looked complete on the showroom floor and fails in sequence once salt water, heat, vibration, and partial charge cycles work against it. Know what chemistry is in your current bank. Know what your charger is actually doing to it. Know whether your installation is protecting the starting battery or draining it. Those 3 questions are the only ones that matter when you are standing at the dock deciding whether to trust the boat that is sitting in front of you.